Of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for Tuesday, September the 17th. I have a few changes to the agenda. If you will remove number 29, and if you will add these three. To request permission to renew the lease for the postage meter in the city clerk's office. USPS is updating their technology and we'll be getting a new meter, and we are going to add that at 8A. Request permission to amend the FY 25 budget for the Oxford University Transit for the purchase of new buses. Donna on this agenda is at 7, that's what I was thinking, so that'll be at 7A. And then to request permission to accept the FY 2025 405D alcohol and drug impaired driving training grant in the amount of $628,440.75 and adopt a budget amendment for the same. And I'm going to place that at 13A. All right, any other changes, Ashley?
No, ma'am, that's all I have.
All right, if I could have a motion to adopt the agenda with those 4 changes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? As you can see around town, there's construction on about every single corner and every single parking lot. You may have noticed that road work signs popped up along University Avenue at the Highway 7 interchange yesterday. And MDOT tells us they'll be moving in equipment by the end of this week. They also told us it would be on September the 9th, so I'll believe it when I see them roll in. But they should be getting started soon, which means that everyone in town ought to be mad at us within the next 2 weeks. Good luck. Progress is a pain. Speaking of, the downtown stormwater detention project that's behind City Grocery, the parking lot, is taking much longer than expected. Harrison and South 11th Street, though, will both be open for football traffic, both vehicular and pedestrian traffic this weekend. They were forming curbs in the parking lot yesterday and pouring the pad for the dumpster enclosure, so they are making some progress. And lastly, I want to tell you some exciting news that we had 4 people pass their national registry for paramedic at the fire department this past week. Captain Chris Jenkins, Captain Chad Bagwell, Lieutenant Josh Dwyer, and firefighter Sonny Norton. So that's great news. And this service that our fire department provides to our community, and being the first responder and typically the first one on scene of an ambulance call, is just remarkable. And so I'm appreciative to our chief that makes it a priority, and to all the folks that are going through that training. I will ask you now to authorize the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on September the 3rd and the recess meeting on September the 12th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ask you to consider the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Donna's coming to request permission to accept the quote from RLI for the general liability insurance for the Oxford University Transit System. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
So I budgeted $500,000 for this, and you can see that it went over that budget. We do have 7 buses that we have that has to stay on the insurance that we will be putting on gov deals to sell. So what I've asked, if we could take those off and put them on a separate policy with the $1 million liability limit instead of the $5 million, that would knock that down tremendously. So our broker is looking into doing that. Plus I'm adding 4 more vehicles. So there's a possibility I will be asking for an increase, but I will do that at the next board meeting and let you know what that amount would be. But I need this for us to okay. They're the only ones that bid on this, so we don't have any other options.
So you're selling 7?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are ones that went to the board some time back. We're waiting on MDOT to approve These are buses that are way past their end of useful life in years and are too old to fix, that are broken.
Motion made to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? And then we added at 7A, request permission to amend the FY 2025 budget for Oxford University Transit for the purchase of new buses, and university will be paying for these buses.
So I budgeted $440,000. When I got the approval for the vehicle budget, they actually gave me 4 buses at $800,000 instead of the 2. So I did reach out because we desperately need them because of the influx of freshmen that have been put into the city. It has caused a lot of trouble on our buses, ridership wise. So I did reach out to the university to see if they would be interested in paying the 20% for the 2 extra buses. They agreed. So with your permission, the city will only be responsible for what we budgeted, which is 10% of the 2 buses, and then university pay 10% for what was budgeted, and then the 20% for the 2 extra.
Motion made to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you,
Thank you
Donna.
very much.
Discuss the TVA wholesale rate adjustment, Rob.
Hold your booze for later, please. Yeah, TVA, as we discussed back at the budget for the electrical division, we could foresee a rate increase, wholesale rate increase coming from TVA. They gave us a lot of forewarning. Essentially, generation is short in the valley, and they're scrambling to build solar and gas and anything that they can quickly build to increase their assets, the generating assets, to be able to meet the increasing growth in the Tennessee Valley. They raised rates 4.5% last year, and this year they've asked for a 5.25% rate increase. That was approved by the TVA board back in August. And I updated you guys on the reason that they requesting this increase. This will translate to a 3.22% increase on the retail level, which is approximately $3.36 per month for our average residential customer, which is slightly less than 1,000 kilowatt hours per month. So it is not negligible. There is a cost to our customers, and that is a direct pass-through due to this increase. I did hear today from our rate consultant that in addition to this increase, 70% of the LPCs in the valley, that's 70% of the 153, which is approximately 85, whatever that number is, also have local rate adjustments or rate increases. We do not. And so fortunately, our finances are still in a great spot this year, where we're not asking for anything like that. Just the wholesale rate increase from TVA, there'll be a pass-through to our customers.
So no local rate adjustment, only a rate adjustment from TVA, which is a pass-through, and should be about $3.36 a month for our average retail customers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
About $40 a year, and the reason being, essentially all the increased costs when you're building generation, adding financing for those assets.
Right.
It's just, it continues to mount the costs.
Does that show up as a separate line item, or is it hidden in the actual rate?
So to us, it's included in our base rate energy charge from TVA. Okay. And for our customers, that'll just be in the, I guess, the retail rate we provide to our residential customers. Okay. So that it's not broken out
The only
in
reason
any
I
way.
ask is I saw my North Carolina bill yesterday, and it's actually listed as a separate line item.
Okay.
It's like a wholesale,
Yeah.
almost like a premium. It was just weird that it was listed out separate.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before, but they could have a different, everyone in the nation except for the TVA region has a different wholesale provider, right? And so it could be the way they're purchasing their wholesale power.
And I know you and I discussed this, the reason they're short on power is because they're shutting down the coal fire before they have something to replace it.
Exactly. So, so to meet green energy goals, they are closing some of their coal plants. At this point, they've closed a number already, but they're finishing up closing those assets, and they're adding back in gas and solar, but it's the growth in the valley is outpacing the ability to build generating assets. And so they're looking at other options, small modular nuclear reactors, but that's a good 10 years away. And so everyone's a little bit concerned, especially when you have peaky weather in the summer and winter, that will enter another opportunity for a rolling blackout event. But, you know, we're keeping a close eye on all that. That's all we can do is to monitor it and notify the customers when it happens.
All right, well, this doesn't need to be approved, it's just a report. So thank you, Rob, for that. We added at 8A, Ashley requests permission to renew the lease for the postage meter in the city clerk's office.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve the reverse auction bids received and authorize the purchase of a front-end loader refuse truck for the Environmental Services Department. Amberlyn?
Yes, ma'am. Bids came in at $405,000, and this is budgeted.
Motion made. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to accept the reverse auction bids received and authorize the purchase of a debris vacuum body for the Environmental Services Department.
Yes, ma'am. This is just for the body that we're going to put on an existing Freightliner chassis that we have with PAC-MAC, Colmac equipment at $137,088.
In budget.
It's budgeted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Second reading and public hearing for an ordinance amending Chapter 87, Article 3, Junk Vehicles and Appliances. Saban? Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, ma'am. So we have not made any adjustments or changes to the first reading. Everything is still the same as that. We feel like we've got a good ordinance. So no other changes unless anybody has.
Does anybody have any changes or questions for
We haven't
Saban?
received anything from the
This is a public hearing regarding this change in ordinance. Is there anyone who is here that would like to speak regarding this ordinance? All right, seeing none.
I make a motion, vote, and approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for Upstream Life Insurance Company to host a mobile blood drive on December the 3rd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Motion made. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for Oxford High School Student Council to host their annual homecoming parade on Oxford 22nd from 6 to 8 p.m.
Motion made. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? We added at 13A, request permission to accept the FY25 405D alcohol and drug impaired driving training grant in the amount of $628,440.75 and adopt a budget for the same.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Saban.
Thank you.
First reading of a proposed ordinance to amend the zoning map for case 3131 JWM Development LLC, JW McCurdy, to rezone plus or minus 26.06 acres from traditional neighborhood business and neighborhood residential to suburban multifamily, and 0.07 acres from neighborhood residential to suburban residential for property located on Old Taylor Road, being further identified as PPINs 14967 and 34530. Ben.
Thank you. As the mayor just mentioned, this is a request for a zoning map amendment for about 26.06 acres from TNB and neighborhood residential to suburban multifamily, and about 0.07 acres from neighborhood residential to suburban residential for property located on Old Taylor Road. So the subject property, it measures about 31 acres, and it actually currently has 3 different zoning districts: traditional neighborhood business, neighborhood residential, and suburban residential. The property is adjacent to Faulkner Flats and the adjacent commercial properties, which also include Dollar General, My Michelle's, and Lapel's. Currently, there are a few structures on the property. It's been a family homestead site, but it's primarily vacant. The applicant's requesting the change of zoning designation here to suburban multifamily for the majority of the property of 26.06 acres, and then 0.07 acres would be suburban residential. There's some additional property that would also be suburban residential. In the report, or in the application, the applicant did provide justification for what they believe justification to be for change in the character of the neighborhood and the public need. There's about 10 of those elements that are included, which consist of the recent annexation of the city limits of Oxford, construction of Oxford Way, Belk Boulevard, Chucky Mullins Drive, a planned connection from Old Taylor Road to Belk Boulevard near the hospital, the approval of a service station at an adjacent property that requires the installation of several traffic improvements, including a traffic signal. Traffic signal may create access limitations for the site, which also presents challenges with viability of commercial development on this site. Staff also believes that a critical element to this change in the character of the neighborhood is that the property was approved for a rezoning to allow a T&D, and that was prior to the comprehensive rezoning in 2017. And as such, when the comprehensive rezoning took place, the underlying zoning was prescribed the 3 different zones that we have now, and that was to coincide with what the T&D did approve, which is not typical. We have very few properties that have multiple zoning districts across it. And the T&D was required by the Land Development Code to provide a mix of uses with a center, denser housing near that center, moderate and dense housing in the edge as it came into lesser dense housing on the perimeter of that site. And so when evaluating the zoning for this property, it did seem logical to prescribe that. But however, you know, with the decline in enrollment at that time, that T&D did not move forward. So there was nothing that was actually developed. And as the Land Development Code stipulates, after a period of time, I believe it's 24 months, then the property reverts to the underlying zoning, which took place. The property in this area is surrounded by multifamily housing, which includes Faulkner Flats, the Mark, the Domain, the Azul, the Archive, Taylor Bend are all near this site. And as the community has seen over the past few years, there is considerable demand and a need for housing in Oxford as the university enrollment has continued to grow, especially since COVID. Multifamily facility at this location in close proximity to the campus and the trail could provide for much needed housing in the community. At the September 9th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting, a motion by Commissioner Smith to recommend approval of the requested rezoning to the Mayor and Board of Aldermen was seconded by Commissioner Murphy. That vote failed 3-4. And so therefore the Planning Commission recommended denial of this requested zoning.
All right, so this is just a first reading of this proposed ordinance. At our next meeting, we'll have a second reading and public hearing. Does the board have any questions or anything that you need Ben to clarify?
Ben, I remember doing the rezoning in 2017, but this piece of property doesn't stick out to me. Was there any particular reason why it was 3 zones were put on this one area?
Yeah,
I don't remember. I tried to remember, but I couldn't.
It was right around.
I remember the project.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was on planning commission. I remember all of that, but I can't remember the details. I'm just trying to get it back into my head.
Sure, yeah. So as I mentioned, just prior to that rezoning, so I want to say in the summer of 2017, we adopted the zoning in the late fall of 17. In that summer, this property was rezoned for the T&D, and it had that commercial core that, as part of that plan that was designed, it had that commercial core along the frontage. And it was a small area, but it was along the frontage of Old Taylor Road. And then inside of that, it had more like townhomes and more dense housing that, you know, kind of radiated back towards that trail. And then the property that was along at that time was a county road, and so along that area, you know, I guess it was whatever that road is that runs to the north of this site, that was all like single family detached housing. And so I think when the logic was at that time, well, you know, this was just zoned. They had a plan that they were moving forward with at that time, and so the underlying zoning that was placed at the site was tried to be as consistent as we could with that plan that was provided with that T&D, which is how you wound up with that T&B neighborhood residential, and then the suburban residential piece. And it's difficult to market a site that has 3 different zonings on it, you know, for development purposes. I mean, it's not often that you see a developer that comes through with, you know, a variety of different types, you know, of development, whether it is, you know, commercial. A lot of times you'll see, you know, well, we do have mixed developments that come through. Typically it's, you know, one, you know, like one element, like in a commercial district, or, you know, where you have like up, you know, up the Morgan building where you see those mixed buildings. We don't see that many unless they're planned developments like the Lamar, like Oxford Commons, where we have seen planned different uses through there. So I just think that at that time, that was the logic of trying to be consistent with the overlay that was just put in place.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right,
Where's the road? I'm just curious, so I keep reading. What road is there one being built?
So Old Taylor Road, but there is a road that is, it's just north of the Dollar General, and it's just south of the gas station that's there, and that it's there is a residential neighborhood that's back there. You know, there's probably maybe a dozen homes that are back there. Belk Boulevard's just east of this site.
Is there something connecting all that over there?
So there's, as part of the, you know, TIF that was previously approved, there's a plan to connect Oxford Way, which is just east of this site, to Belk Boulevard, which will come out, you know, I think that those are ongoing discussions of exactly where that road's going to locate, but that's the road connection that they're referring to.
Thank you.
any other questions? All right, then we will hear this at our next meeting.
Okay, great.
All right, request approval of the final plat for case 3124 for LT2 LLC for the Grove at Grand Oaks, Phase 8, Parts 1 and 2, or Parts 2 and 3, for property located at 1200 Crowson Drive, being further identified as PPIN 26136.
So this property is actually in the Grand Oaks PUD. It's south of Morris Drive. It's near the intersection of County Road 403 and Bell River Road. The 2 parts consist of a total of 41 lots ranging in size from about 1/4 of an acre to 1/2 an acre in size, which comply with the dimensional standard requirements for the underlying zoning. The total acreage for both of these parts is about 14.5 acres. Engineering provided comments in the staff report, and the Planning Commission at their meeting on September the 9th recommended approval of this final plat with the 2 staff conditions.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Ben. Consider a request from JP Core General Contractors for the final acceptance of the Oxford Conference Center Terrace project. Mark?
Hello. So we completed this project earlier this month, and now JP Core has requested acceptance of the project. And I had a picture I was going to show you. Let's see. If you haven't seen the terrace, I've got a few pictures I want to show you. We repaired, the scope of work was we repaired the fountains, added lighting, landscape, and resurfaced the courtyard, the steps, and the terrace, and we were pleased with how it turned out. And now we can use the space, which was mostly unusable before. So I'm sorry, I'm having this technical. Let's see. I'd say it looks better.
Doesn't it look good?
Let's see.
We've got a picture, Mark, on our...
Okay. So we recommend acceptance of the final completion of the project.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consider a resolution to accept the transfer of Pumpkin Water Association to Oxford Utilities and authorize the mayor to execute the closing documents. Mark?
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Glenn Ingram, are you happy? Yes, ma'am. Thank you for all that you did to make it happen as well. We have the best staff. Thank you. Consider quotes for the construction of a privacy fence at the Oxford Memorial Cemetery. Mark?
So at the last meeting, I was asked to get quotes for an 8-foot shadow box privacy fence. The fence will run the entire length of the project on the south side of the open ditch. In between the existing chain link fence and the green giant arborvitae, the proposed fence is about 807 feet long, and we had got three quotes for it, and the low quote was from Top Rail Fence Company for $32,280.50.
Where are they out of?
They're out of Memphis. And so tonight, I'm just asking if you would like to proceed with this option or look at some more options.
I'll make a motion, to
My question is lowest and best. We're $400 off of a local company. Is that lowest and best?
That's not a shadow box.
Yeah, the best can't be influenced marked by the local company. There, you have to make specific findings as to why the lowest isn't best.
Okay.
And they have to be very specific reasons, not that, like they've done projects before, they did a poor job, unresponsive, and unless we've got those findings to make about the lowest, then they are going to be the lowest and best.
Okay.
Like it or not.
I don't like it, but
yeah, I don't either.
I did confirm they're quoting the exact same thing, so.
Well, understanding that,
We have a motion?
yeah, I'll make a motion to approve Top Rail Fence Company's bid of $32,280.50.
All right.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Consider a resolution declaring certain municipal property surplus and authorize a contract for the sale of the same.
So we have a in your board pack, surplus resolution and contract for the unopened South 13th, which is the back of lot 1203 on South Lamar. We did obtain 2 proposals and we averaged those out, and $10,600 is the average of those 2 appraisals, plus the cost of the appraisals themselves, and any other costs related to the closing will be covered by the buyer. So we're recommending approval of the resolution and the contract.
Okay.
And it's, just so I'm clear, this is what we talked about last meeting, they're paying all costs, and hey, I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Request permission to approve an easement to Northeast Power for the installation of a primary electrical distribution line at the landfill.
So we did a similar easement for M-Trade Park to get power to the new pavilion we're building. Northeast is asking for all new line extensions to have an easement, and this easement is for a pole to get to the tractor shed. So it's a blanket easement, so we're requesting approval.
Move we approve.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consider a proposal from demolition specialist for a hazardous material inspection at the current Oxford Police Department building.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I just have one question on
Okay.
that. I mean, it's approved, we have to do it, but that building isn't that old.
It's built in 83.
I think it's asbestos though, isn't it?
83, and
Okay.
yeah, we have to do.
I know we have to
the
do it, but it's
the
just like-
architect is thinking there may be something, but he doesn't know.
Okay.
I can report back. I'll report back.
Typically, you find that in the 50s, 60s, 70s era. Okay.
With the wall construction they put in some of that area, it might be there.
Okay.
I will report back that information.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consider a proposal from Corbett Legg and Associates for a mechanical, plumbing, and electrical system report at the current Oxford Police Department.
At the last meeting, we contracted with McCarty Architects, and after reviewing the building with them, they didn't include mechanical, electrical, and plumbing as part of their contract, which is pretty typical of the architect's contract. So because there have been some quirks for that building, both with the HVAC and the electrical systems, we think it's important to get those tested. We're hoping it may be just something as simple as a test and balance that'll fix it, but we're not sure until we have the assessment. So Corbett Legg does a lot of work with our architecture firm and that we're using, and they recommended them, and so we're passing that along, that would be under contract directly with Corbett Legg.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consider change order number 1 and final for the Pumpkin Water Distribution Improvement Project. John?
Yes, this was the project, if you remember, to extend our water main from Brittany Woods up to Campground Road to connect to Pumpkin Water, so we could pump water to them. It's actually for a deduct, so the contract price went down 17,000 and change.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Quickly.
We jump on that.
Right before they change their mind. Request approval of an engineering services agreement with Elliott and Britt Engineering related to intersection improvements for proposed roundabout at North Lamar Boulevard and Molly Bar Road.
Yes, this is the old three-way intersection where we propose to eliminate the traffic signal and go to a roundabout. They will design it, prepare the bid documents, construction inspection, full package.
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request approval of an engineering services agreement with Elliott and Britt Engineering for pedestrian signal improvements at the intersection of Bramlett and University.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a request from L2T LLC to accept the infrastructure in Grand Oaks, Phase 8, Parts 2 and 3. John?
Yes, y'all actually just approved the final plats just a few minutes ago. We've inspected all the infrastructure, checked it, it's good. They've got us the performance bond, so everything's square.
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request approval of an engineering services agreement with Williams Engineering Consultants, Inc. as related to the North Lamar Corridor Improvements Project from Price Street to Molly Bar Road. John?
Yeah, this is more or less sort of a planning / design study to evaluate what it's going to take, how much right of way we're going to need, et cetera, to make North Lamar look like we want it to look like in the future, from the red light at Price up to the new roundabout we're building. On-street parking, multi-use pass for pedestrians, things like that. We'll have a kickoff meeting with planning sometime in early October to kind of guide them on where we want them to sort of point stuff, but that's what this is. This is sort of just to lay out what we want it to look like, not a construction contract or anything. Hopefully it will get us to the point where if we need right away, we can go ahead and start looking at that as well.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider a request from Oxford Commons 3 LLC to accept the infrastructure in the Heights at Oxford Commons, phases 10, 11, and 12.
Yes, this has been finished for a while, actually, so they're ready to go. Final plat's been approved and everything.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?